That's great. Okay, guys, let's finish this up. So we have seen that what does it mean by the activity features in Salesforce. And as a part of activities, mostly, and there are two objects that, I mean, the task and the events. So what really happens is like, whenever you create an object, it's maybe a custom or maybe you do certain editing in the standard objects. But for standard, you can go up to a certain level, not beyond that. The customization, not beyond that, is possible. Salesforce have so many restrictions while using these standard objects. Like for few of the objects, the activity is a default feature and you cannot disable. For example, if I go with let's say lead, and I would try to expand this and go with view objects. All right, so obviously, see over here, this page doesn't seems to be allow you to do any changes over here. I mean, the same thing if you try to do with your custom object, like if you go with the position and you pull up this, you go with view objects, definitely you would end up onto this and you could customize so many things from here. But when you try to do the same thing with some of the standard objects, actually most of the standard objects, I mean, if you try to implement the same thing, let's go to the contact, and there even if you expand the force.com, you go with view object. See, it would not rather allow you, to do lots of the customization. There are only few things that you could do, like you could add a custom fields, or maybe you can customize a few of the layouts like compact layouts and few of the things, but definitely we cannot go beyond that. So when we talk about like how, if I wanted to, if I wanted to do the editing, if I wanted to customize the standard objects, we are like, we can do only few of the things with the standard objects, and we cannot definitely do most of the things. I mean, most of the things, they are actually being hidden from us, right? So so this example, I have to take it with the custom objects, because standard ones, they are I mean, they are more restricted, right? They are more restricted and they cannot be customized more. All right. So at the time of creation of an object, like a custom object, or if you are editing an object, so what we have discussed yesterday, let's have a quick a quick revision of that. There's a feature called allow activities, right? There's a feature called allow activities. Now, when you allow the activities, on a particular object, this object automatically get associated with task and events. Task and events rather is what? Task and events, they are the two standard objects of Salesforce that comes under the activity. I mean, if I go with like go with the customize, and if I expand the activities, I could see over here the task and events, right? So this association is automatically created every time when you allow the activities. And there are a few more things that happens in the backend. I mean, if onto the object, if you allow the activities, you can send an email with having the merge fields of that object. That is also enabled onto the object. You can design a task, you can design an event for that particular object. And on the other hand, if you just deselect this, then remember that all of those features are going to be disabled for that particular object. So that is what is an activity actually means in terms of Salesforce objects, right? Now I wanted to show you something very important, and I wanted to have a discussion onto this. And remember, what I'm telling you right now is, in most of the cases, they could ask you this interview. The question is, what is WhoID and WhatID? WhatID. My accent day by day is going more towards the American. I have to control this. Let me try to show you that file. Maybe I'm having that. This is the problem every time. I mean, I have so many things I'm having. And it really becomes difficult to sort out like what I really wanted to see. This is not. I myself have created few things. I just trying to find out that file. Oh my God. But this is what I'm about to have a discussion, WhoID and WhatID. But again, it's not possible for you to understand with this diagram. I'm not showing you this. Ah, where is my file? Where is that? I kept it where? Or maybe this one. See, yeah, I would be going to share you all of this material. I mean, if you ask me, I mean, if you wanted, I could definitely share so many things. I'm having lots amount of data with me. I think this is the one which I was trying to find out. Yes. See, there's one question, even I also used to ask that, what is WhoID and WhatID? This is one question, this is something with most of the people don't know this. I'm telling you this from my own experience. I mean, if I ask this question, for maybe like 10 to 15 of the candidates who appear for the interview, right? Maybe there is only one or two who would know and who give me the answer. What is a WhoID and WhatID? So let's keep aside that interview part. See, we are not obtaining the I mean, we are not just getting this training to clear the interview. That is not our important goal. Our important goal is to survive, right? Our important goal is like when you join this, when join as a software engineer, you join this any of the organization, and you start working over there. You should have that knowledge base with you so that you could survive easily, right, into the real time. And that is what, and this is the reason, I'm taking you to the depth of everything. So we are not just concerned about clearing the interview part. If you have the knowledge, you could definitely clear that. You have control over your anxiety. You have practiced it well during the mocks and everything. You are enough confident. You're having a good communication. You could definitely going to clear that. So that is not the ultimate goal. Ultimate goal is to survive with real-time scenarios, right? WhoID and WhatID. This is a very important thing that when we are discussing about task, event, we should know. We should know about this. All right. Let me first of all show you what I mean, where exactly I'm referring you. And then I would try to create certain diagrams, or maybe I'm already having it. I'll have to see. I would try to describe you that. All right. So if I go to like setup and then build, and then if I expand the customize, I go with the activities, I expand it again. I would open like task fields. I would also open event fields. I mean, I wanted to see the standard fields inside task and events. Now inside the task, you can see that there is a who. There's a who called as WhoID internally. This is the label. We are more, when we talk about API name, or maybe let's forget that. Anyways, who means WhoID and what means WhatID. These are what. I mean, similarly, if you go over the events as well, I mean, in the event as well, you can see that there is a who, there is a what. So who stands for WhoID and what stands for WhatID. Internally, the names are WhoID, WhatID. What you see is label, but we usually don't use it. As a developer, we always use the API names and the field names, right? So internally, the name is WhoID, WhatID, right? Now, what is it? I mean, at the first glance, what we have seen, what we understood, even though if you don't know, like what exact is the operation of WhoID and WhatID, at least every one of us now in this class, all of you, including me, there are 19 people, all of us at least can say one thing: WhoID, or maybe who and what. These are the two standard fields. Listen this, guys, very carefully. This is something which is very important and you should have an understanding. I would discussing that as well, right? But let me first of all try to stuck onto the topic, because actually what happens is, like, whenever I start something, there are so many thoughts come into my mind, and there are so many things I could relate this with the examples, relate this. So it happens all like the thoughts start coming. I have to teach you about, I have to tell you this and this and this and that, right? And this I just wanted to put every thought in front and forth and back into everything. And this is how I used to teach, right? So I myself would, like, I myself don't deviate from one topic to another. Otherwise, it would become, for me, it would become really hard for me to come back, right? So what is in who and what, who ID and what ID? I mean, at the first, what we have seen, we can say my first sentence, if you ask me this question, and I am the one who's answering, so I would say, I'll start my answer like, who ID and what ID. These are the two standard fields inside task and event objects. They are present inside both. They are present inside task object. They are also present inside event objects. Right. So what is in who and what? Who ID, what ID, who and what? They are the two standard fields. I hope you guys are writing this. They are the two standard fields, and they are present inside task object as well as inside the event object, right? So this is the way I could start my answer. Now let's come into detail part. Let's come into the detail part. See, one thing what we have seen yesterday, let me take you to the schema builder. One thing that we have seen was like this diagram. I mean, I showed you that wherever, right? For the candidate, it was an example that I have taken. But this happens with every object. Wherever in the object, if you have enabled the activity, wherever in the object, if you have enabled the activity, what happens? And today, even I started my day by saying that activity is feature, right? So what happens is, like, whenever you enable the activity on a particular object, like I enable this onto the candidate, so that candidate would automatically get associated. There's a lookup relationship that automatically happen created in the backend with that object to the task to the event. As soon as you click that checkbox, allow activities, now that object internally would be associated to task and event in a lookup relationship, right? Now, that was, maybe this was point number one. I mean, if I wanted to summarize this, maybe this was point number one. Now, point number two, every time, whenever you make this association, I mean, if I replace candidate with hiring manager, or maybe the position, or maybe any another object, I could bring, I could bring some of the, or let me first of all complete this point. That is what happens with me. I used to say there are so many things coming to the mind. See, every time you will going to see one thing, that whenever there's a relationship of task and event with any of the object, task and event, they are child. And that particular object is parent. This object would always be a parent, not just this one, the one who's in the center, the one on which the activity is enabled. I'll show you a few more examples for this, but yeah, this is what I wanted every one of you to observe. And just by looking into the diagram, we know how to find out which one is parent and which one is child. Because when I was teaching you this, the relationship concept, I taught you one point that whenever you form a relationship, guys, whether it's a lookup, whether it's a master detail, whenever you form a relationship, between two objects, whenever there is a relationship between two objects, it could be, it could be a master detail, could be a lookup relationship, it could be anything. Important is like whenever you create, whenever you see the relationship between two objects, it would always be associated in one to many. One to many, all right? One would always be the parent, many would always be the child. That is what a default relationship concept is. Parent should always be one, and parent could have multiple childs. Like in case of a lookup relationship, a parent could have 40 childs. In case of a master, it could have 2 childs. That's what we have learned, right? So, and I have shown you, like, when you see this kind of diagram, if you see that there are many, I mean, this is just one ending. In the ending, if you can see many options, that is what the child, that is what a child, right? So here you can say that candidate is parent, task and events are child. All right, let me try to bring like account. Let me try to bring the account. What do you see? Who is parent? Account is parent. All right, who is child? Task is child, event is child. Oh, that's great. Let me try to bring certain object like case. What do you see? What do you see? Who is parent? Case is parent. Who is child? Task is child, event is child. Let me try to bring like position, right? Let me try to bring the position. Let me try to bring the position. What do you see? Again, the same thing. Task is child. Event is also child, but position is parent. And every time this would happen. This would happen every time. Whenever you bring any object on which the activity is enabled, you would going to find that the object is parent, that object is parent, your task object and the event object, they are child. All right, let me give you this command to unmute yourself. Let's have certain discussion because I feel that is important. That is important. See, I'm not extending the topic, guys. Please don't, think like that. I would tell you one thing. Task, if you don't understand this gravity, why I am taking you this in that much of deep, because yesterday I told you one sentence. Yesterday I described you one thing. Activity, what we are learning is activity. Activity is a part of sales cloud as well as service cloud. Mostly what happens is like, you either would work, the project, the kind of requirements in the project, usually it's like sales process where you have to do certain automations, you have to improve, you work on a project which is mostly onto the sales, or maybe you're working on a project that deals with service, or maybe you're working some part of the marketing as well. But the feature, this what we are learning right now, activity, that is a part you can use it inside sales, you can use it inside service, you can also use it inside marketing. Any such a kind of feature of Salesforce CRM which can be used in different places, that itself would make it a very important feature. So what we are discussing right now is an activity feature of Salesforce. This can be used, and it actually used. Because I worked with so many projects of sales, I worked with so many clouds, I worked with sales, service, marketing, and some of the advanced clouds like education cloud, Einstein cloud, communities, app builders. Most of the CRM baseline is either sales, either service, either marketing. Activity is one of that kind of extensive out-of-box feature of Salesforce, which is used everywhere. You must learn this. You must know this with every minute details of it. So when I know that this is something which is essentially important, I take my time. I take my time to describe it. And same time, I hope that every one of you would also understand the same gravity. You would also feel that same attraction towards the topic. That is why it's taking time. That is why my lectures are being extended to maybe like 3 to 4 months. All right. So this is the reason, guys. So anywhere in any object, when you enable activity that default in the backend would create a relationship of that object, a lookup relationship between that object along with task and events. But in all of the cases, that object would be the parent, whereas your task and the event would going to be a child. Now, if I ask you one question, guys, do you remember whenever we create relationship, what are the two steps of creating a relationship? Can any one of you please unmute yourself and let me know that what were the two steps of creating a relationship? Yes, please. Yes, any one of you wanted to contribute into this? Whenever we create a relationship between two objects, what are the two steps? There's only two steps, first of all. Yes, anyone?
First of all, we have to identify which one is parent, which one is child.
Absolutely true, right? That is the first step.
Um, and
Yes, in the second step,
associated with a parent.
can you little bit elaborate that, Bhagyashree? I mean, you're on to the right track. Just I wanted a little more elaboration.
mm, uh, we can create a fields or inside the child object, we can create a custom fields relationships.
Understood. Understood. Please go on mute, guys. See, whenever you are creating a relationship, after knowing to this, like which object is a child object and which one is a parent. Actually, we are more interested in child because in step number 2, what you have to do is you have to go to the child object and there you would going to create a relationship. So it would not be, you should not be surprised if I would say that the relationship field is always present inside child. Inside child. Like if task is child, if event is child, the relationship field would always present inside child. Actually, I have to say this one, but I think that let's revise one point. That's why I take you back. And because two of you has answered and most of you were being unmuted, there are only two reasons. Maybe you don't know, maybe you don't want it to answer. If you don't know, I'm agree with that. If you don't want me to answer, that is not good. Because if you are not doing this right now, it would become you to answer in the interviews as well. If you know, but you don't want it to contribute, that's not good, right? If I don't know it, I'm okay with that. You can study. I would going to revise that, right? So see, the relationship field, they are always present inside child object. I'm taking you step by step. WhoID and WhatID, these are a little complicated thing. I don't wanted you to feel that difficulty, right? And that is the reason I have divided this into small modules, small quantums. And I'm just taking you step by step by giving you one quantum of those, that this is something. First you digest this, I would give you another piece of this. So this is a little complicated. Most of the people don't thought that because they even don't know how to explain that. And they themselves don't know maybe that. All right. So that is the reason I'm taking you step by step. So relationship, whenever there is a relationship, like right now, what you see, there is a relationship between position and task. There's a relationship between position and event as well. Whenever there is a relationship, that relationship field would always be present inside task or inside child. So if there is a relationship between task and position, where you can see that task is child, we must sure that relationship, whatever is that relationship, I'll come to this. I'm slowly growing in the same direction. I'm taking you into the right direction, but we are taking just baby steps. We are not in a hurry. We are not running. All right. We are not doing that brisk walking. We are just going slowly, and slowly. And we would understand at the end, every one of us would understand it. So whenever there is a relationship, like if I'm saying that between task and position, there's a lookup relationship, right? There must be a relationship field, and that would present inside task. Why? Because task is child. What is that field? I'll come to that. Really. If I'm saying that there's a relationship between event and position, and event is child, position is parent, then there must be a relationship field present inside child, inside event. There must be a relationship field. Now I'll give you a few examples for this. I'll come back to this once again. I feel that आपको थोड़ा सा और मैं बताता हूँ. Let's see. See, if you remember, guys, we created a relation between like position and hiring manager in the same way in the candidate and position. If I talk about like between hiring manager and position, we know that position is child, all right? If I wanted to see what is that relationship field, I'll go with position, I'll expand, I'll go with like view fields. Inside position, there must be one field, there must be a relationship field because position is child. But I'm talking about relationship between hiring manager and position. If I'm saying that position is child and hiring manager is parent, there's a relationship between these two objects. If I wanted to see what is that relationship field, I have to go with position, right? And that's the reason I expanded. I go with the custom fields and relationship section. Over here, I would going to find what is that relationship field. You see a master detail, a relationship field. What kind of relationship? Master detail. And to whom it has been associated? It has associated to hiring manager, name of the object. What is the name of field? HR manager. HR manager. You created this. And this is like API name. All right, don't see that. It seems to be complicated. Let's forget it. What is the field name? HR manager. HR manager. I mean, inside if the position, if you go, there's a field called HR manager. This is that relationship field. All right. Let me take another example. Let's try to nullify this a little more. I'll go with the candidate. Why candidate? Because candidate and position. Candidate is child, right? Candidate is child. So if I'm saying that between position and candidate, there is a relationship, I'm not sure what, but there is definitely a relationship where position is parent, candidate is child. We must have one field inside candidate, which makes it associated to position. Let's find it out. So I would expanding this force.com. I'll go with view fields. And over here, I would try to find it out. Yes, there is a relationship field. Type is master detail. It make it associated with the position object. What is the name of that field? Position applied. So if you go with the position candidate, sorry, and here you see that there is a field called position applied, which allow you to select a particular position, a record from the position object. So this is what I wanted. And maybe you know this. Maybe you know this. I'm just taking you to that thing, what I wanted you to understand. Now, if I'm coming back and I'm saying task is child, event is child, and they are having a relationship with this particular XYZ object. I'm not interested in parent. Whoever is in the center, I'm not interested. For me, more important over here is like, there is a relationship field inside task. There is a relationship field inside event. There's a relationship field inside event, right? All right. Now let's come to that part. What are those relationship fields? These relationship fields are who and what. Who is also, see, lookup. What is also a lookup. Don't come to this part. Don't come to this part. Don't see. I would be describing this whole thing. That's the reason I'm telling you, I'm taking you step by step. So in our initial discussion, how we are going to start this, if someone asks you, what is who, what is what, WhoID, WhatID, you have to start your answer by saying the WhoID and WhatID. WhoID and WhatID. These are the two standard fields inside task and events because they are present inside both, right? This is the first thing you have to say, that the WhoID or maybe who, the WhatID or maybe what. These are the two standard fields inside task and event objects. Now add one more thing into your answer. Both of them are relationship field. Both of them are relationship field, lookup relationship field. Both of them are a lookup relationship field. Both of them are a lookup relationship field. WhoID, what is the data type? If I go with email, the data type is email. If I go with activity date, the data type is date. If I go with field called phone, what is the data type? Phone is a data type. If I go with a field called priority, what is the data type? Pick list. What is the data type of who and what? Lookup, lookup, lookup. So now let's add one more point into this. The WhoID and WhatID, both of them are the two standard fields inside task and events, and both of them are a lookup relationship field. Both of them are a lookup relationship field. All right. Now let me show you one important thing. Like if I go with, for example, if I go with like candidate, all right, I would fire a SQL query for this, and you have to understand. So it's an advanced topic, but you have to understand. See, if I open any of record over here, for example, I go with all of the records, and let's see that Mr. Chetan has applied for a position which is called Java developer. All right. So when you see the record, over here, when you see the record over here, it would display you the name inside the position applied. You will see the name Java developer. That's a name. All right. The position for which he applied. I mean, if I go in the position object, I'll try to find out Java developer, right? This is what the name, Java developer. You see it over here. This makes it simple. To understand. If for example, this Java developer is having this ID, right? For every record, there is an ID. There is an 18-digit ID in Salesforce, which is used. The first three digits would always represent objects. A02 is definitely a position object, right? A01 is definitely a candidate object. The first three digits in the record ID, which is of 18 digit. Here you see only 15. 3 bits are checksum, which is not seen over here, but we can query and find it out. Anyways, I'll not extend this topic more. So if you see A0, if you see this, let me copy this. For example, let's consider, instead of seeing this name, if for example, I would see this, it would make it difficult to understand. So to make it more simple, onto this, see, because this is a user interface. User interface is, whenever we design a user interface, we have to make it user friendly. That's the first rule. Whenever you design a user interface, it must be user friendly. And you have to, do an activity called as abstraction, data abstraction. That means whatever you feel, you can express them in a simple way. Just do that and just hide every other complexity regarding that. So what I'm actually trying to say is, like, inside your relationship field, if I'm telling that position applied is a relationship field, actually inside every relationship field, it never store name. It would always store ID of that record. And I'm going to show you this by firing a query. I'll make every point crystal clear. It would require time, but you would understand everything. You don't have to make an assumption. I would show you everything. You just have to keep patience on this, right? Whenever you create a relationship field, if there is a relationship field, it would always contain parents record ID. What you see over here is a name, but that name is for, there's a validation which is working in behind, and that's the reason you are seeing the name of this record. But internally in database, it never contain name. It always contain record ID. I'm going to show you that. I'm going to show you that. Let me fire a query for this. Right? Over here inside the Salesforce inspector. Let me fire a query. Position applied. What was the name of the candidate? Chetan. You're going to learn this, don't worry. Whatever I'm doing, you are going to learn it in the programming. So don't worry about that. See, there's a record called Chetan. There's a record called as Chetan. What I just have pulled, I have pulled, like, there's a field called position applied. You see, for the Chetan, there is a field called position applied. What you see over here is Java developer. But inside in the database, this is right now, this entity, what you are seeing right now, this entity is coming from the database. Inside the database for this field, what it contains this ID. Let me copy this ID. All right, I'll make you sure that you are looking into the right thing. I have copied this ID. I'll come to, like, I'll come to position object. All right, and I'll just paste it over here. This is the 18-digit ID. See, it also have checksum. And I paste it over here, I put the enter. Which record has opened? Java developer. Java developer. So this means that Chetan is associated to a position where the ID is this. What is that ID? ID of a record called Java developer. So that's the reason inside position applied, you see Java developer, but that is the representational form. Here into the user interface, we try to make everything simple. Think about this. I mean, if instead of instead of displaying Java developer, if this was being displayed, don't you feel this is not a user-friendly approach? Of course not. We must, we are not actually displaying what is there inside position applied. Because this field, ideally this field, position applied, is having a record ID of Java developer. But here we are displaying name. But that, don't fool yourself. This is for the end users. We are not end users. We are developers. All right. So we must know every fact about everything. So Salesforce try to make it simple, and there is a system validation rule, which is actually getting the name of this. I could also display that over here. Don't worry. I could also display that. If I want, I could make it like, see, I could also display you. This is what is happening. This is what is happening. Now what do you see? Java developer. I could also pull it up. The way I'm doing it, the same way Salesforce is also doing, right? But this is not the actual value of it. This is not the actual value. So if I want to make it simple, I could also do that. But actually it is, it is containing this. Actually, it is containing the ID. All right. So this one was a very important thing that every one of us has learned, that whenever you form a relationship field, you have a relationship, like position applied is a relationship field inside candidate object. And if I go with like positions, HR manager is a relationship field. HR manager is a relationship field. I could show you that as well. See. Not sure whether this is from. No, it is not. Oh, I'm pulling the HR. That's why. Position. HR manager. See. HR manager. This is what it's a relationship field. What it is containing, it is containing the IDs. It is containing the IDs. So now this is clear to every one of us. This is clear to every one of us. This has to be clear that whenever you create a relationship field of any type, lookup master, it's not important. The relationship field internally, if I display this like this, go, and I would bring the name, see, HR manager. This is a relationship field. Internally, every relationship field, what you are seeing over here is name, but it's not simple like this. Internally, every relationship field would always contain ID of that record. ID of that record. Though they are displayed the name because we wanted the user interface to be more user friendly. And if we start displaying the 18-digit or maybe the 15-digit IDs, nobody would like it. Rather, they would confuse, what is happening? Something has been hacked. People from the US would feel the same thing. These guys, I'm telling you, if you just deviate one thing, there's only one word they would say. Oh, something has been hacked. Somebody has hacked my system. I mean, yesterday I was seeing the name, and right now this all jumbled numbers has coming. So they are always threatened, but I mean, and you can make them fool. Yeah, I think somebody has hacked you, and they would agree to this. They would really agree to this. There's only one. Whenever something happens to their computer, something happens to their product, there is only one reason what they know. Somebody has hacked my system. Maybe somebody, some guy from the China. When you start working with them, you're going to realize every time they would give you the same reason. Yeah, somebody from China has maybe hacked my system. All right. All right. So that is what. So the relationship field, they always contain what? They always contain IDs. Right? Chalo. Abhi bhi ye aaj pura nahi ho payega. I'll have to take one more lecture for this. Chalo, what we have learned so far. Let's summarize. And these are very important things. You can write whatever. You can revise this whole session, yesterday's and today. First, what is the activity feature? What happens when you enable activity? What happens when you disable activity? That is the first thing what we have learned. All right. And how to create event, and that's upcoming. Probably I could complete that by tomorrow. So the first thing what we have learned is activity feature. Second, task and event, and how to create a custom field inside task and event. I mean, that was also an important thing. Yesterday we have seen, because there is no such section like custom fields and relationship section. There is nothing like custom fields and relationship section. Whenever you wanted to create, you actually have to create activity custom field, which by default would going to available with task and event. To segregate them, you can decide on which page layout you wanted that custom field you created to be get landed, right? So that is what you can select. And that was second point, like how to create the custom fields inside task and events. Third is, what does it means by WhoID and WhatID? All right, but discussion is not completed yet. This is something which I started today. We are ending this right now. Tomorrow, again, I would continue and I would complete this point number 3. What is WhoID and WhatID? Point number 4 would be, please write it down. If I forgot something, you can revise. I mean, you can remind me. Point number 4, after this discussion would be over, what is WhoID and WhatID? Point number 4 I'm going to take would be how manually we can create task and event. That would be point number 4. And point number 5 would be, I would complete this topic, like where is your how to create a new task. First, we would understand how we can create task and event, but manually. Now, point number 4 or 5, whatever it was. So last point would be like how we can create a new task with the help of a workflows. And if all this would be completed in tomorrow's session, we are going to complete this. And from next, we are going to start with the process builder, the second type of automation after workflows, right? So these are the things, these are the upcoming things in the line. That's all for today. I think you already have this command. Yes. Yes, guys. You wanted to ask anything? Any questions? Any questions? I got nobody wanted to had no discussions. Anyways, thank you so much for joining in that case.